Stephen Rhodes.
On the BBC in Beds, Hearts and Bucks.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Now, a few months ago, we spoke to a sword fighter from Bedfordshire, Pete Buzzsaw Holland from Arlesey. He's become Britain's #1 sword fighter again. And he also holds the UK title for wooden cudgel fighting. Right. Morning, Pete.
Good morning, Stephen.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much, and still in one piece, thankfully.
There is a good reason why we keep you on the phone and don't invite you into the studio. You make me nervous. Listen, tell me about this latest title you have won, then.
Right, well, as you quite rightly said, earlier this year I took the English Stick Fighting Championships, which is with the cudgel play. And once a year they have a major tournament, which is run by the British Federation for Historical Sword Play, which is the umbrella organisation which brings together all Western martial arts groups in the UK and invites people from Europe as well to fight. And they have a tournament which is called the Glorianna Cup, which is sort of an open tournament, so you get the cream of the cream when it comes to Western sword fighting at that particular tournament. It was held up in Edinburgh, and thankfully I was able to attend. Last year I was actually judging, so I couldn't fight last year, which was disappointing for me, but this year I was determined to do well, and I went in there, and as you just said, I came out on top.
When you talk about historical sword fighting and you see the size of some of the swords that they used to use many years ago, I mean, you kind of usually won the fight if you could manage to lift the sword. The blooming things were so enormously heavy. Are they those kind of swords, or are they the sort of more girly, wussy swords of today?
Well,
you know, with Wilkinson down the side.
I know what you're saying. No, that's actually that's a bit of a misinterpretation, mainly put on. Most people get the impression that swords, especially medieval swords, are incredibly heavy. You're talking about the great sword. Now, the great sword are the huge ones, and they are heavy, but they're a different type of sword. They're not like the single-handed broadsword.
No.
The tournament I was in, there were 3 tournaments up there. There was the rapier, which is really the rapier and small sword are like your modern sports fencing. That's
I did fencing at school.
Right. So if you did fencing at school, you would have probably used épées and foils.
Yes.
Which are a mutation from the classical rapier and small sword.
They're a little springy thing, yes.
Exactly. This is I term it historical sword play because basically we're using proper, correct historical swords, so they are all to the correct dimensions, weight and balance, size. My particular forte is the English single-handed backsword, but it's you're talking about 2.5 pounds in weight. But even then, a sword should be balanced to the person that's using it. So if you're a chap of large stature, you're going to have a sword which is going to be heavier than somebody if you're small stature.
Now, historically, these swords would have been used for, well, obviously, the attempt to fatally wound your opponent.
Yes.
And the kind of sword fights we see in the old movies and all the rest of it, is that the kind of thing you're about?
Well, actually, it's interesting you should bring that up because, again, if I go to modern sports fencing, I say that's on the strip, so you're just going backwards and forwards and scoring points. What this is to really bring it back to its roots. And a lot of people do love watching the choreographed fencing on films. I myself are trained and qualified in theatrical fighting.
Right.
But what we're doing is taking it back to its roots and actual sword fighting. So you're moving all around the arena, you're cutting, you're thrusting, you're using correct, proper, real swords, apart from the fact, obviously, for safety they're blunt.
Yeah, but you could still do somebody a bit of damage with one of them.
You certainly can. That's why we have to wear full body protection, head protection, all over.
That must be a bit hot.
Believe me, it is. Believe me, it really is.
You go in a fat bloke and come out a skinny bloke.
Yes, it's very good. It's a very excellent exercise. Superb for trimming around the waist.
Yes.
But you have to ask yourself, why do people like movies? It's because the fight choreographers put together some wonderful fight sequences. From Errol Flynn onwards, people love swordsmanship. Yes. And this is an actual chance for people to train and to get involved and do it for real.
And is this your day job as well?
No, my day job, I do instruct. I know you've had a couple of my guys on over the past few months. You've had Steve the Bulldog Williams on there, that's the shin kicking champion. You've had Tony the Spider's been on.
We tried to get the girl who was running for Miss England to suggest, when it came to sports and hobbies, that she did shin kicking as well to make her more interesting. Well, but she couldn't really get a handle on that.
Hopefully in next year we're going to have 2 of our ladies in the shin kicking anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they've had that down at the
They'd be sort of stocky, sturdy women, I assume.
Well, one of them's my wife, so...
Whoopsie daisy! Oh, I've just jumped over the line. Well, I'm jumping back my side again. Of course, that was a joke. Now, just getting back to, what do you do during the day?
What do I do during the day? My normal job, I run my own business in antique furniture restoration and reupholstery. So that's what I do, a mild-mannered upholsterer.
So listen, when you're there and you're sort of, you're doing a bit of wood turning and things like that, and you end up with a chair leg in your hand. Yes. Do you ever sort of think, ooh, and then just go and bash the living daylights out of something, to brush up on your wooden cudgel fighting?
Well, thankfully, I don't really get frustrated during my day job. I think it's just like anything. The traditional English martial arts, which I teach, is a great way of getting any stress out.
Do you and the wife have any children?
Yes, we have one, and that's Zach.
How old is Zach?
Zach is 10, he's just turned 10.
Is he aware that his father is a cudgel champion and his mother's into shin kicking?
He trains.
Does he behave himself well at home?
He's very good, yeah.
I would too, yeah. Pass me the jam. How many pots would you like that?
No, he's a very good lad, and he loves what he does. That's one of the things that we're trying to do with introducing traditional English martial arts back into the mainstream of martial arts that exist at the moment, is to bring in junior classes as well. So,
do you travel around? I mean, have you been off to Hollywood and that sort of thing, training and helping with?
As yet, no. But since the weekend, I've had a lot of interest. People have come along. I did a workshop there at the weekend as well, and that seemed to go down exceedingly well. And since then, I've had invites to go off to teach in Italy and to Spain and things. So
it all sounds very exciting.
When it comes to the TV and things, I've done a little bit for documentaries, but only in the background for sort of things with History Channel, etc.
Yeah. So now that you're the UK number one, is there a world title you can go for?
Not really. That's kind of the whole Western martial arts community, if you like. Although it's worldwide, it's still very embryonic. It's still growing, and there's no. Although, as I say, the British Federation for Historical Sword Play is the umbrella group for the UK, and there are groups through Europe and around the world, Australia, New Zealand even, but they need to come together. Most of them hold their localised tournaments and things, but there's no quite, if you like, world title as yet. But you never know, as things come on. The thing is, what we do now, the path we're taking, hopefully students that I teach and other instructors teach will come up behind, and these things will grow. So certainly something in the future. That's what I'd like to see.
It all sounds pretty interesting. And this...
Absolutely fantastic, Steve. Really is.
The shin-kicking wife that you are married to,
yep.
Does she do any other things apart from...
The shin-kicking is one of the aspects that we do. Traditional English martial arts is not just the armed combat with the swords. The swords, sword and dagger by itself, but that's the English quarterstaff. But then there's all the traditional English wrestling styles. We have Cornish wrestling, Devonshire wrestling, Norfolk wrestling, Cumbrian and Westmoreland wrestling. The shin-kicking is a derivative of Devonshire wrestling. We do pugilism, it's a whole combat system, if you like, but based within the boundaries of England.
Please tell me that Morris dancing is not a martial art. No, please.
Not being funny, Stephen. It's one of those bizarre things that the Morris dancing as it exists at the moment is simply that, country dancing. But they do get the wooden cudgels, and some of the dances that they use two cudgels, almost one shorter than the other, which represents a sword and dagger. I don't know if you're familiar with, they do what's known as a sword dance, where they interlace actual steel swords to make a star. And although
I've seen the Scots do that kind of thing.
It's not just an English thing. This is through Ireland. Ireland's got a wonderful stick fighting scene as well. The Irish stick fighting with the black.
Sure, we've been fighting with sticks for years. That's another story. How artistic it is, I don't know.
But when it comes to things like that, although historically, the trouble is, the further you go back, things disappear. If it's not written down, you don't have references to it. But if you look at Morris dancing as it is now as a country dance, it's more than likely that 400, 600 years ago, when the country folk were doing these dances, the same people that were dancing were also the people that were fighting, because men carried swords. Now, of course, everybody associates it with real ale drinking and beards and things.
Yes, they do, don't they?
In a way, you're seeing a very distant reflection of your ancient martial artists, yeah.
Peter, Peter, I've got a bit of an idea developing here. We've got Dancers in Need coming up for our children in need, and I'm just thinking next year we could do Fighters in Need.
Oh, could do.
Fighters in Need of a cudgel. Listen, it's been lovely talking to you, and you are a champion. Good on you. And
if anybody wants to know any more about it, they
yes,
can pop along to the website,
which is
www.backswording.co.uk.
Backswording.co.uk.
And they'll find out everything they want, and they can come along and train up. And you never know, maybe somebody who's listening will be next year's champion.
Peter Holland, furniture restorer and cudgeler. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Stephen. It's been a pleasure.